Welcome to the path from GIS manager to GIS leader. My name is Adam Carnow. I'm a community evangelist at Esri out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've been a GIS practitioner for over 25 years. In addition to experience in the private sector, I've also worked in the public sector as well as academia. I've been with Esri for over 11 years. I work with Esri staff, partners, ArcGIS users, and the GIS community to help them do more with their GIS investment and make a difference in their communities. So why are we here today? Why are we here to talk about migrating from being a manager to a leader? Well, I'm sure all of you want to move up in your careers and be more valued to your organization and develop yourself professionally. But one of the main reasons why we need managers to become leaders is that GIS technology has a huge potential to digitally transform your organization and more impact the community in better ways. One of the reasons why we need people to step up and do this is because those non-GIS users look on GIS users and the technology is simply there to make maps. And while making maps is a very valuable skill, if you've got access to enterprise GIS, you really should be doing a whole lot more and really truly digitally transforming your organization for the better. And by doing that, you would be able to uplift yourself from manager to leader. So let's look at some examples of some detail on how people are looking at GIS. Well, this article is from 2011, and in it there was this quote that said, "Generally, people outside of GIS think of GIS just as maps or a graphic product or the younger brother of CAD." Now, while this was 9 years ago, I think that this viewpoint is still very common today. Here's an article from 2015. GIS is often seen as maps or visual graphics product, and the more advanced capabilities are ignored because they remain unknown to key departments and decision makers. And here's one from 2018, just 2 years ago. As expected, lack of awareness among users and policymakers remains the biggest challenge for the industry, with over 38% listing it as a primary hurdle. And that was a survey done to executives asking them what's keeping them from getting the most out of their GIS investment. And 38% said that the lack of awareness was the reason, and that was the #1 reason. So we do have a problem. We need to work at changing that. The way we can do that is by shifting the conversation away from technology and towards capability. Now, capability is the power or ability to do something. And when we as GIS users talk to non-GIS users, and if we use too much GIS technical jargon, we'll lose them and we'll lose their interest and their passion to utilize it. So you've got to shift your conversations with folks like that towards capabilities. And managers, executives, elected officials, they're very interested in adding new capabilities to the organization and to their staff. So by switching the conversation from technology to capabilities, we're really going to be much more effective at letting people know the value we can bring. And the capability that GIS can enable in an organization is called location intelligence. What I'd like to do now is show you a 2-minute video that Esri did with Fast Company magazine that's intended to be viewed by executives and explain to them what location intelligence is and show them the value of it. So I'm going to go ahead and run that now.
What is location intelligence, and how is it changing the way we solve the problems of the future? Location intelligence uses spatial information to empower understanding, insight, decision-making, and prediction. It has applications everywhere, from retail site selection and solving traffic bottlenecks to maintaining and repairing vital infrastructure. Location-based insights are used in many ways. They can create safer, more efficient supply chains. Growers can trace spoiled crops back to the field from which they were picked. Better understanding the trajectory of hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods can help evacuate residents, reduce damage, and save lives, making cities and citizens more resilient to the increasing severity of storms. Modeling wildfire risks empowers local authorities to clear vegetation and coordinate their response to fires. In farming, precision agriculture measures soil moisture and crop health to deliver water and fertilizer only where needed. Optimizing production costs and maximizing crop yields is necessary to feed another 2 billion people by 2050. Location-intelligent organizations allow all participants to create, manage, and share information, making them smarter, more productive, and more efficient. 2/3 of business executives already use location intelligence to gain a competitive edge. More than half use it to create new market opportunities. For this reason, 97% of companies believe location intelligence is crucial to their success. Most say they plan to invest in location intelligence technologies. We've only just begun to explore the potential of combining spatial information with prediction. Just as we would have once been hard-pressed to imagine all the uses for smartphones, we're still discovering how location intelligence, combined with emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, will uncover new insights and provide a map of the future. Esri, the science of where.
Okay, so now that we all know what location intelligence is, it's important to understand that if you're going to be successful by adding a new capability to your organization like location intelligence, it's very different than implementing technology. And what I'd like to do now is talk to you about a document that was put together last year by Esri Canada and IDC, and it's called Winning with Location Intelligence, the Essential Practices. And what this document did was this was a result of a survey. So they surveyed 200 organizations across Canada in all industries. These organizations had 500 or more employees. And they analyzed their use of location intelligence and identified common best practices among those organizations that were most successful. And what they were able to do is then divide these best practices that were proven in the real world in these industries into 5 different buckets they call the 5 pillars of location intelligence. And they are strategy, organization, technology and data, culture, and literacy. So if you're going to be successful with GIS and location intelligence in your organization, you've got to work on all 5 of these. You can't only focus on technology and data. Now, I want you to look at these numbers. These are important numbers, and as I move through the presentation, I'm going to reveal their meaning, and I want you to think about it each time. They are 64, 76, 78, 84, and 84. Well, let's talk about the first of the 5 pillars of location intelligence, which is strategy. So if you're going to be successful with GIS in your organization, you must have a strategy. And the importance of a strategy cannot be understated. In fact, in a September 2019 survey from McKinsey & Company on how leaders in data and analytics have pulled ahead, they found that the creation of a strategy now ranks as the #1 challenge to and reason for a company's success at data and analytics. So that means if you're going to be successful with data and analytics, the #1 challenge to not doing that would be not having a strategy. And the #1 reason if you are successful is your strategy. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have got to have a geospatial strategy to be successful. And if you go to do a strategy, if you don't have one, you try to get your leaders and people above you to approve it, they might give you some kickback on why you're spending time and money on this exercise. So what I want to do is show you this great article from Matt Lewin from Esri Canada about how you can help pitch your reasoning behind the need for geospatial strategy. And it lists these 5 reasons why you need it. #1, to unlock new sources of value. #2, to strengthen a digital strategy. #3, to enrich the customer experience. #4, to establish a shared data foundation. And #5, because the IT strategy missed it. So you'll have access to the slides, and all these slides are hyperlinked to more information, and you'll have the hyperlink that'll take you to this article. Really great article. So that will help you sell the need for your geospatial strategy to your superiors. So let's look at the first number of my 5 numbers, and that is 64% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a GIS strategic plan. And this is from research that I've done of over 800 GIS professionals across the United States over the last couple of years. So it shows that the majority of organizations don't have one, which means that they've got to get started on it. So what is a geospatial strategy when I talk about it? Geospatial strategy is a business-oriented plan that defines how an organization will use GIS to achieve its goals. It's not technology-oriented, it's strictly focused on the business. And an effective geospatial strategy connects your business needs with the right people, processes, and technology to help you overcome challenges and improve results. So the focus of this is the business and overcoming challenges and creating positive results. If you want to look at it in a different way, we can look at it through these 4 circles. So first, you start with the business goals. You need to find out what your goals of your business are. And to do this, you can either talk to people that are in charge of this, but it should be accessible and easily documented in plans, goals, objectives, policies. Maybe you have a performance management system, so maybe there's KPIs or key performance indicators. Whatever they are, you need to identify what these business goals are in your organization that they're trying to accomplish. And number two, talk to the people that are in charge of meeting these goals and ask them what their challenges are to reaching those goals. Then what we need to do is simply come back and promote or propose some GIS solutions that help alleviate those challenges and get them to reach their goals. If you do that, you will get business value for your GIS, and people will understand the value, and you will become a leader because you're digitally transforming your organization. So let's see what this looks like in the real world. Let's look at Bonneville County, Idaho, which is in the southeast portion of Idaho. Prior to last few years, they had a single GIS professional. Now, the population of that county is about 115,000. And then they quite often get wildfires. And so the GIS professional there, she implemented some GIS solutions to help them deal with wildfires. And sure enough, they actually got hit by a wildfire. And they were able to leverage these new solutions rather than the manual paper-based workflows they'd done in the past. And their response to the wildfires were much, much better. After that, she did some more work, which added more value. And within a couple of years, their GIS staff grew from 1 to they hired 5 more full-time GIS staff. So now they have a staff of 6. We all know how hard it is at the local government level to get new full-time employees approved. But if you provide value to the executives on one of the main challenges they're dealing with, I promise you they'll find those resources for you. So let's look at what a geospatial strategy looks like. It actually consists of these 4 phases. Number 1, you're understanding those goals and challenges. Number 2, you plan the solutions that you're going to respond to those. Act, you actually implement those solutions. And then things change all the time, so we have to revisit the goals and challenges all the time and make sure we're keeping up to date. Things change, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Such as disasters, hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, whatever it might be. So that's why we're constantly in a cycle of this. If you want to learn more about how to create a geospatial strategy, you can download this document. It's not too long, not overly technical, and it will introduce you to the concept of a geospatial strategy and how to put it together. And then if you want more information, I suggest you reach out to your Esri account team. All right, so let's look at the second of the 5 pillars of location intelligence, organization. So 76% of organizations that use GIS do not have formal governance in place. If you can look at an organization, governance is a big part of that. I'm not talking about data governance or technical governance. I'm talking about organizational governance, how you run GIS in an organization. If you don't have any governance, it can be a struggle to create it. So I'm going to steer you towards some resources here. Matt Lewin, who's with Esri Canada, is one of the most active people in this area as far as publishing on it. So there's links here to multiple documents and articles he's put together, as well as a video as well. So if you don't have governance, if you don't have formal governance, you definitely want to start to put that together, and that will really help you be more successful with implementing location intelligence in your organization. All right, the third of the 5 pillars is technology and data. And I think one of the most critical things here about being successful with technology and data is following best practices. And we find that too many people are not following best practices. And in fact, the research shows that 78% of GIS practitioners have not read the Architecting the ArcGIS Platform Best Practices document. So this is the document. I believe it's one of the most important documents Esri's ever put together. It's constantly being updated at least 3 times a year, because best practices come and go as the technology changes. So you definitely need to download this document and read it, and then deploy those best practices that apply to you and your organization and their use of GIS. And this deals with not just the technology, but the people, the data, and the processes. So definitely become familiar with this. Keep up to date with the latest version of it, and then talk to your Esri account team and our partners about how you would go about implementing these best practices. If you implement them, I promise you, your GIS will run better than ever. It'll be much more performant. It won't go down as much. You won't have as many tech support calls, etc. All right, so the fourth of the 5 pillars of location intelligence is culture. And culture contains a lot of different features, but what I'm going to focus in on is change management. And I'm not talking about software change management, I'm talking about organizational change management, helping the organization adapt to new technology. By default, human beings do not like change. And if we're going to develop new technology and implement it in the organization, we've got to make sure people are actually using it. Because you can make the best GIS app in the world, but if nobody wants to use it and doesn't use it, you get no value. So we've got to help do that. We do that with organizational change management. And so here's the next of my numbers. 84% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a change management plan. So the biggest challenge of a successful GIS implementation is the people problem. And the solution to this is implementing a change management program. And change management is the discipline that guides how we prepare, equip, and support individuals to successfully adopt change in order to drive organizational success and outcomes. It's helping people adopt new technology and new processes. And research has shown that if you implement change management programs, your organization will be 6 times more successful in the adoption of new technology. So this is such a critical part of success with GIS that Esri's actually started up a change management consulting practice. So if you want more information on this, you can reach out to your Esri account team and they'll connect you with them. But just be aware that if your organization has change management programs somewhere, get involved and tell them that you want to implement that in your GIS department. Michael Green is one of our members of that consulting crew, and he's got a numerous numbers of articles as well as a video out there as well. And again, you'll have links to these. And then just a little bit more about this. The focus areas here are effective sponsorship, executive sponsorship of your work, continuous communication, proactive resistance management, so dealing with those people that are resistant to change, and then workforce development and training, helping them get up to speed on the latest technology. Now, over 50% of sponsors don't understand their role. So even if you have executive sponsors that sponsor GIS, a lot of them don't understand what that role entails. And they're just as likely to create resistance to change as employees. So the number one factor for successful culture change and change management is an active and visible sponsor that understands their role and how they can help. All right, so the last of the 5 pillars is literacy. And again, there's lots of different things involved with literacy. But what I'd like to focus on is training or workforce development. And the last of my numbers is that 84% of organizations that use GIS do not have and maintain a workforce development plan. This is a real problem because the GIS software is changing so fast. Everybody that uses GIS should be getting at least some training every year. And it's hard to navigate all the training that we make available to you. So what I suggest you do is you reach out to your Esri account team. Everybody that's an Esri customer has access to a training consultant, and they'll interview you and get all the roles and responsibilities of all the different users of the GIS technology in your organization, and they'll craft a custom workforce development plan that lays out which courses each person should take in what order. And this will really help you apply the technology in a much more sustainable and effective manner. And this is also a great way to get training funded, because I know training gets cut all the time. And if you have a plan that shows exactly who needs what and in what order, you're much more likely to get it budgeted. You can visit our Esri Learning Plans website as well. There are some default learning plans up there. For instance, if you've got ArcMap users that need to transition to ArcGIS Pro, there's a default learning plan that shows you how to make that happen with the best classes as well. All right, so let's start to wrap this up, and let's look at people that are becoming leaders in their organizations. And one of the things that matters is job titles. So I think that the term GIS is too closely tied with map making, and so I think a lot of people out there are starting to rebrand both their job titles and their departments away from the term GIS. And here's some real-world examples from around the US, actually Australia, and Canada as well. So particularly I like location intelligence, as I mentioned. You can see the 3 at the bottom here are really, really good. Business Analytics, Intelligence, and Reporting Manager, Business and Location Intelligence Manager, and Business and Location Innovative Services Supervisor. There's also that 3rd one up there, Data Analytics and Visualization Services. I really like that one as well. So the vision here is that if we can get executives to understand the value of GIS in an organization, they might create a new executive position. So all organizations are run by some sort of chief executive officer. And over time, as IT has delivered more value to the organization and taken up a bigger role in the organization, they've created more and more executive positions to preside over that critical part of the company. So first there was like the CTO or Chief Technology Officer, but now organizations are sometimes getting Chief Innovation Officers or Chief Data Officers or Chief Analytics Officers. So if you can convince the people that run your organization of the value of the GIS, why shouldn't there be a Chief Geospatial Officer, a CGO, or something like that? So what we need to do is to strive to get our executives to understand that so that these positions can be created and you can move up into that position. And I just want to show you a list of some examples of GIS managers that have moved up. Now, there aren't any CGOs out there, but there are CIOs, CTOs, CDOs, Director of Office IT and Innovation, Director of Enterprise Systems. Again, you'll see a Innovation Business and Location Intelligence Officer, Vice President of Real Estate Market Research. So there's a whole slew of your peers that are doing this and getting new titles. Deputy CIOs, Assistant Director of IT, Senior Intelligence Officer, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can see there are some GIOs on here as well. So really great example of how your peers are doing this. And these are examples from across the US, Canada, and again, Australia. A few more I'd like to highlight. This is Todd Shanley. He's the CIO at Cabarrus County, North Carolina, which is not far from me here in Charlotte. And he was fortunate enough to get the award of being one of the top 25 doers, dreamers, and drivers of 2020 from Government Technology magazine. Todd started working at Cabarrus County as a GIS intern 23 years ago, and now he's an award-winning CIO. It's a really amazing story. Here's one from Johns Creek, Georgia. This is Nick O'Day. He's now the Chief Data Officer. He used to be the GIS manager there. And then Tracy McKee in Charleston, South Carolina. She used to be the GIS manager, and she's now the Chief Innovation Officer. So really good examples of how your peers are making this happen. Now, just because you don't have a big title or haven't moved into a new office doesn't necessarily mean you're not delivering value and it's being recognized. So what I'd like to show you is I have 4 examples here of GIS managers that report directly to executives at the top. So that shows the value they're providing because the people at the top feel it's so important they need to direct it on themselves. So there's the GIS coordinator, the City of Oak Hill, West Virginia, the GIS analyst, the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, GIS manager for Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and the GIS manager for Skagit County, Washington. They all report directly to high-end managers. So they might not have the fancy titles in the new offices, but they are providing much more important services being directed by an executive. Okay, so moral of the story here is if you want to be a leader in your organization, you've got to pivot away from the GIS technology discussion and look towards adding a new capability to your organization of location intelligence. And in order to do that and be successful, you need to apply the best practices from the Esri Canada document. You need to focus your time across all 5 of these pillars of location intelligence and spread your time across all of those and use the resources and some skills, new skill sets to apply those and be successful. In addition to that, I want to make sure that you're aware of all the resources that Esri brings to the table. You have your account team of manager and solution engineer. We also have a whole slew of subject matter experts that are available to help you, whether it be public works or transportation or emergency management or public safety or law enforcement, whatever it be. We've got those experts that can help you talk to those people in your organization. We've got a great services crew, whether you're dealing with retainers, packages, or consulting services, and under our Advantage program that wraps services together with the subject matter experts. You've got your training consultant, like I told you, that can help you with the workforce development plan. And then we've got award-winning tech support, and there is premium support available for 24/7, 365 at an additional cost. We've got a great set of network of partners. You need to be aware that our partners can earn specialties. So if you're looking for help in a certain area of our GIS implementation, make sure you look to a partner that has earned that specialty, and you can reach out to your account team and we can help you connect with the right partner. And then also check out their wares on the ArcGIS marketplace as well. Okay, So it's time to seize the opportunity that's in front of you. Everything is there to make you and your GIS group more valuable and effective. Please let Esri and our partners know how we can help you transform, how we can help you move from manager to leader and be more successful, because really that's all we're here to do, is to help you digitally transform your organization for the better using the technology. I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. There's a difference between having a job and building a career. Which do you want to do? You can go to work every day and do your work and get your paycheck and all that and have a great career. But if you want to affect change and really build a career, you do that by being a leader. And then when you're gone from this job, how will you be remembered? How will they look back on your time at that organization, and how will they talk about you and refer to you? I don't know about you, but I want to build a career and I want to be remembered as somebody that changed this organization for the better. So we can do that by applying some of the techniques and strategies we've talked about today. So thank you very much for your time. Here's my contact information, my email. I'm very active on GeoNet, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. I love to work with the GIS community out there, hear your stories, good and bad, help you be successful, and then take your lessons learned and pass them on to the rest of the community. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.